Hi, and welcome to episode 6 of Soft Signal. Forgot the name of our podcast for a minute. Uh, my name is Varun. I'm joined by Aditya as usual. This week, I thought we were going to. Unfortunately, the IPL has ended, but we still have a bit to talk about. So, welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that this IPL has ended. I think there were calls from a lot of people to actually end it. Uh, but for me, anyways, it was great entertainment, something a good distraction from the usual sad news that we're getting to hear these days. But yeah, unfortunately, it's all wrapped up and done for this season, at least for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I mean, the BCCI is adamant saying it's not a cancellation, but it's a postponement. Yeah, I think I agree with you that it was a good thing while it lasted. It did give some entertainment. It also helped us talk about something else to concentrate on. But once the bubble was breached, I think there was no hope. It's just unfortunately the situation is just so bad that they just can't take the risk. And even to have just Indian players after a point, it would have just been difficult to sustain. What do you think? Do you think they should have even uh, gone ahead with this? There were some reports that I read that there were recommendations to have this season in the UAE itself. But how do you feel about them having this season in India?
Yeah, I mean, I guess having the rest of the season being played out in India is impossible right now
Yeah,
because I don't see the situation in India improving in the foreseeable future. Anyways, it's probably going to take a few more months. Of course, alternative suggestions were coming up, like the UAE for one, Sri Lanka apparently as well. There have been some English counties also volunteering, in fact, to host the rest of the season. Look, if it happens, it's great.
yeah,
If it happens in any one of those locations, it's great. Honestly, it's more fun, more cricket to watch, so it's great. I just don't know when it will happen. Reports are coming out that saying it will happen in September. Um, so well, good. If it happens in September, it's good. It means that it'll be ideal preparation for the T20 World Cup actually, which is expected to happen in October. Um, so should be good if it happens. But honestly, at this stage, we don't know what exactly is going to happen.
yeah. I think it's so up in the air because I mean, COVID situation in India is very bad, but it's getting better in other parts of the world. So there's a hope that they can maybe fit it in. I just don't know if they're playing a whole test series in England, which we will cover later in the show, and 5 tests, and then there's going to be the World Cup. There were even suggestions that they might just postpone the World Cup again to have the IPL. Personally, I don't think that will happen, and I don't think it's a good idea. Like IPL is great, but it's a domestic tournament at the end of the day. World T20 has already been postponed once, so yeah, postponing it again would not make sense. And
I agree.
like they might even shift the World T20 out of India now, maybe to UAE, which would not be the worst. I mean, it's pretty similar conditions in a way. So a lot of things in the air. Um, do you? Another thing I considered, what would players be available? So would they, like we're seeing in the PSL, for example, they are resuming it like they had to stop it midway and they're resuming it with completely new foreign players for every team, like by and large. So that will be an interesting thing to see as well if they need to have completely different players depending on availability. I don't know if it'll be the same feeling.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be completely different. I totally agree with the point you made about the T20 World Cup. Like honestly, it will be very unfortunate if it is sort of replaced by the IPL.
Yeah,
Because really, the IPL, as you said, IPL is great, but the World T20 is a bigger event. Let's face it, it's the World Cup of
yeah,
T20 cricket, right? So I really hope that they don't touch the schedule of the World T20. But of course, if they are able to fit the IPL in September, I'm not going to be the one complaining. I think
yeah.
it's great. And who knows, like you said, maybe a few more dimensions. Some players might not be available, and some which will obviously mean that teams will have to rethink their strategy. Um, I think most teams played around 6 to 7 games before the suspension. So actually, it's the halfway mark of the season. So they'll have to
Yeah.
kind of pick up from where they left with a completely different strategy and then close the tournament. But honestly, if it happens, it's great.
Yep.
Um, if it doesn't, it's unfortunate. But I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot more cricket in other parts of the world in the coming months to
Yeah.
compensate for that. So
And just one final point: if it doesn't happen, if it doesn't continue for whatever reason, Delhi Capitals can claim a moral victory because they are top of the table at the moment. So maybe their first IPL title, which will, uh, yeah, I'm sure they'll wouldn't want it that way. But yeah, it's just on a lighter note. Anyway, that's that for the IPL for now. So, but there's like you mentioned, there's a lot of cricket upcoming, and next month actually we have the World Test Championship final between India and New Zealand, which is going to be played in Southampton. And immediately following that, there are 5 tests in England. So a really interesting summer, especially I'm sure the English will be. There were all sorts of talk about how they're going to get revenge with their pitches in the summer, and it'll be interesting to see if we can bounce back after not bounce back, continue our strong overseas form after the win in Australia. And we'll have a detailed look at the England series. But for this episode, what we thought would be we'll just look at the squad that's been announced. I'm just gonna share my screen and take us to something new that we're trying. And would you like to? You can see the screen, okay? Correct.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
great. Do you want to talk us through the squad? What are your initial impressions?
Yeah, so I think initial impressions, it's a fully fit squad, and I say that because we all remember what happened versus Australia, right? So
Yeah.
so good to see a fully fit squad. Um, of course, and it's ironical, however, that there are two players over there who are still subject to fitness clearance. But okay, let's assume for a second that they would, you know, get their clearance and travel with the rest of the team to the UK. So I think, of course, Virat Kohli picks himself and also returns as the captain of this team. Ajinkya Rahane, vice captain, after an absolutely brilliant performance in Australia as captain. Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill, uh, the present number one and number two choices for the opening slot. And then at number three, we have Pujara. At four, Virat Kohli, of course, but he picks himself. Um, the good thing about this team, of course, is that there is a lot of balance to this team. So you've got like a strong batting base at the top of the order. You've got a wicketkeeper who bats. So Rishabh Pant has, I think, proven himself as a batsman at number six. He's more than capable of batting at six, and his wicket keeping has improved. The other good thing is the all-rounder in Ravindra Jadeja. So his batting, of course, has improved significantly over the last few seasons. So it's good to have him slot there at number seven, and he can, of course, bowl the tight lines and length. His role in the UK will, of course, be more of a containment role as opposed to a wicket-taking role. What that does is that it allows Ashwin and then the three fast bowlers to play, which means that we've got five bowlers in this team, uh, which is uh, which is of course the best way to go while playing Test match cricket, right? So all your bowlers are
Yeah.
always fresh,
Especially
uh,
overseas for sure.
especially overseas, exactly. And I think this has been the best thing is that we have a pool of fast bowlers now. If one gets injured, there are equally good fast bowlers who can replace them. uh, and that is something that actually gives us a very strong base or a strong sort of starting point overseas. It wasn't the case earlier, right? Now, even when we go abroad and we face um, opposition on swinging or seaming pitches, at least we have the tools to counter them.
Yeah, I think largely it's a pretty predictable squad. I think Ravindra Jadeja being there is he's probably the most important member of this test team because he provides so much balance, like you said. Um, Good to see everyone fit, and there's a few omissions which were not completely unexpected. So I think Hardik Pandya not being there is, if he doesn't bowl, I think it's just not. Uh, he doesn't offer it as much with the bat to warrant a place. So I think they just resting him and then hoping he'll be fit for the T20, which is more important this year. And one thing I want to talk about was the omission of Kuldeep Yadav. So it's very unfortunate that it's what it is, but he was overlooked even when he was in the Australia squad. There were spinners were constantly uh, played over him. And yeah, I think the emergence of Washington Sundar and Akshar Patel means he's now even lower down the pecking order. So it's quite a turnaround for someone who was supposedly India's best bet, especially overseas, to now not even be in the squad of 20. It's quite telling. Any take on that?
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. There was a time, so actually, not too long ago, in fact, when India last toured the UK in August of 2018,
Yeah,
right? Kuldeep Yadav didn't play the test matches, but he did play in the limited overs games, and they couldn't read him, right? They
yeah,
couldn't read his long gun, they couldn't read even his leg spinner, and etc. And he seemed to be like the ideal bowler for India to run through opposition batting lineup. Ever since then, of course, his performance has not been the same, and I think batsmen around the world have just found a way to play him. So it's unfortunate for Kuldeep Yadav. Some like for a left arm wrist spinner, which is a rare commodity anyways. Uh, if he still cannot get picked in the first 11, or even in the squad for that matter, it's unfortunate. It's a loss to India. But at the same time, I guess Kuldeep needs to go back and do a lot of work and again find a way to catch batsmen out in terms of flight, spin, guile, whatever you want to call it. But clearly, he's been found out and he's got a lot of work to do.
yeah. I think he's still young-ish, so he has time. So hopefully for him, he can recover his form. And yeah, Prithvi Shaw not there in the team as well, which I think is a good decision because he's been playing well in T20, but yeah, he looked very out of place in his only test that he played in Australia, and not the best bet in English conditions as well. So I think it's good they haven't considered him. But again, he's very young, so always room for him to come back. Um,
I think there's a problem in his technique with
yeah,
Prithvi Shaw. It's clear that when the pitch is flat and the ball is moving in straight lines, Prithvi Shaw is super dangerous, right? He can actually climb into the bowling.
yeah,
But the minute the ball starts swinging or seaming, it's a completely different story. And that's exactly what happens in England, in English conditions. So
yeah,
he might actually be found wanting in terms of technique. So again, needs to do a lot of work on that before he can actually get picked in overseas conditions.
yeah. Even though Ravi Shastri thinks he's the combination of Lara and Sehwag, I think there's a while for him to go to get to that level, for sure. And they've also this is the squad of 20, but we also have a few players on standby. Most of them, I mean, three of them are fast bowlers, which is understandable. So good to see people getting recognized as well for their domestic performances. So I think Abhimanyu Ishwaran has been performing in domestic in Ranji Trophy for a while now. Prasidh Krishna, of course, we know about because of his IPL exploits, and Avesh Khan also to an extent. And just a point about Arzan Nagwaswala, who's the first Parsi cricketer to be selected for India since Farooq Engineer. So Farooq Engineer was last played 15 years before even we were born, and we are really old. So that tells you how long ago it was. So it's just not nothing of note cricketing wise, but it's just an interesting fact to note. And then So this is the squad. We just made our first 11 as well. What we think it should be for at least the New Zealand game, and then for the 5 tests. Just gonna move the. Sorry, just facing. There you go. Okay. Do you want to talk us through the first 11?
Yeah. So I think it's almost a no-brainer. This
Yeah.
first 11, it's the strongest squad that we can put out actually. So Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill, openers one and two, first choice openers. It's really funny how things change in cricket so fast because just a year ago Mayank Agarwal was the undisputed opening partner of Rohit Sharma, but now he doesn't even get a place in the squad. So Shubman Gill partners Rohit Sharma at the top, Pujara at three, right? The rock that is Pujara. Kohli at four, Rahane at five, and we'll come to that later. Rishabh Pant at six. So I think Rishabh Pant, and I mentioned this earlier as well, I think he has proven himself to be an able batsman at number six in overseas conditions. So I think he's India's first choice wicketkeeper now, like easily India's first choice wicketkeeper. There's no debate about that. Um, Also, it does help that his wicket keeping has significantly improved. Um, Ravindra Jadeja at number seven, lending the balance, the much needed balance as an all-rounder in any cricket first 11. Um, and again, even with Ravindra Jadeja, it's unbelievable how important he's become to this team. Right, 2 years ago, he started improving his batting, um, and it's been recognized, of course, by the fact that he now um it looks comfortable even in overseas conditions. So that's really credit to him. His bowling has not diminished either. So he's the all-rounder at number seven. R. Ashwin, um, India's lead spinner at eight, um, and then followed by the three fast bowlers, Bumrah, of course, Ishan Sharma, and then Mohammad Shami. So I think it's a really strong squad. Um, and I don't know what are your views on this.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they play Shubman Gill or Agarwal. I just because Gill had a great Australia series, but he did struggle at home against England. I know it's completely different conditions. So yeah, maybe they Agarwal has not played in England either, but if they want to have a bit of experience for that final World Test Championship final, maybe they'll play him. I think Pujara and Kohli at 3 and 4, there's no debate. The big debate at number 5 with Rahane, I don't see him getting dropped at least for the Test Championship final. Though personally, and I know you have this similar feelings, I don't think he warrants a place in the first 11. His performances, he had one great innings in Australia and captained the team great. It was especially the turnaround after 36 all out. So kudos to him for that. But yeah, I don't think he warrants a place in the first 11. They would probably. I think Vihari might be a better bet, or even if Rahul is fit, they could play Rahul and play Shubman Gill in the middle order, or play Rohit Sharma in the middle order, one of them. But yeah, Rahane will still play. So as much as we don't want him to, I think we don't really have control over that. And then Pant, Jadeja, and Ashwin, crucial. Uh, in I have really good feelings about Pant at six. I think he can be a long-term option for us, which gives us option to play 5 bowlers as well. And then yeah, the two spinners and then the three fast bowlers also just select themselves. So this is the first 11 as of now, but of course we still have over a month to go for the for that for the New Zealand game. So a lot can change in between now and then.
Yeah, exactly. I completely echo your thoughts about Rahane there.
Yeah.
Honestly, Rahane was such a promising talent when he burst onto the scene, and then he actually went on to become India's best player overseas for a short period of time. Like he was scoring more runs than Kohli and Pujara and all. And ever, but then since then, his performances both home and away as a batsman uh, have plateaued, and it's really unfortunate. I think he there was a time when he used to average in the 50s. Now he averages in the early 40s.
Yeah.
So that just goes to show that he's probably not the same player that he was, 4 5 years ago. But like you said, he will definitely play the World Test Championship final. He makes it into the team. He makes it into the team for the first Test match of in against England as well, is what I feel. Um, but but honestly, if he doesn't sustain or if he doesn't score enough runs, India needs to look at that. Probably get Vihari in his place, who's a solid. He's proven himself to be a solid middle order batsman, or even KL Rahul. I mean, you can't have a player as good as KL Rahul warm the bench for so long, right? I mean, this is a class player. He
Yeah.
needs to somehow, they need to somehow get him into the playing 11. I don't know how that is, but one way is to put him in place of Rahane. But we'll see.
Yeah. I think Kohli is not very too adventurous, so I don't think this team will change uh, for the New Zealand test and for the first test against England. But we'll see. Hopefully, there's enough flexibility in the squad to make changes when they need to. Okay, cool. I'm gonna just stop so you can see us again. Hi everyone. So unfortunately the recording stopped midway, but the good thing is we were towards the end of the episode anyway, so there's not much we wanted to say after that. So I hope you enjoyed that episode looking ahead to the World Test Championship final, and we'll be back next week with some more interesting content. Till then, stay safe and stay healthy.